Good day everyone, I am Judy Andy Lagat and I'm going to discuss about the cognitive development of infants and toddlers. So let's start. Infants and toddlers are born ready to learn. They learn through listening to language, trying out sounds, tasting foods, and exploring their environment in countless ways every day. Cognitive development refers to the development in the way a baby thinks. This includes his or her language communication and exploration skills like, for example, is the example of cognitive activities including paying attention, remembering, learning to talk, and interacting with things, and identifying faces. So let us proceed to analysis. There are four stages of cognitive development according to Piaget sensorimotor: the pre-operational and the concrete operational and formal operational stage. Sensorimotor stage. The sensorimotor stage is the first of the four stages of cognitive development. In this stage, infants construct an understanding of the world by coordinating sensory experiences such as seeing, hearing with physical and motoric actions. Infants gain knowledge of the world from the physical actions they perform on it. Piaget divided the sensorimotor into 6 sub-stages. There are 6 sensorimotor stages. Number 1, simple reflexes, birth to 1 month. It is coordination of sensation and action through reflexive behaviors. So there are 3 primary reflexes are described by Piaget, and these are sucking of objects in the mouth, moving or interesting objects with the eyes, closing of the hand when an object makes contact with the palm. And number 2, first habit and primary circular reactions with the age of 1 to 4 months. It involves coordinating sensation and new schemas in the first few months of life. Infants' behaviors are focused almost exclusively on their own bodies. And number 3, secondary circular reactions with the age of 4 to 8 months. In this stage, the infants become more object-oriented, moving beyond self-preoccupation, repeat actions that bring interesting or pleasurable results. This stage is associated primarily with the developmental of coordination between vision and prehension. For example, a 4-month-old accidentally knocks a toy hanging in front of her, producing a fascinating swinging motion, and attempts to repeat the effect. Number 4, coordination of reaction stage, secondary circular with the age of 8 to 12 months. This coordination of vision and touch, hard eye, coordination of schemes intentionally. This stage is associated primarily with the development of logic and coordination between means and ends. This is an extremely important stage of development, holding what Piaget calls the first proper intelligence. This stage marks the beginning of goal orientation, the deliberate planning of steps to meet an objective. For example, when an infant sees the string of a poke toy near her rather than crawling over to that toy, she might instead reach out and grab the string and then purposely pull the string in order to acquire the toy. Number 5, tertiary circular reactions, novelty and curiosity with the age of 12 to 18 months. Infants become more integrated by the many properties they experiment with new behavior. And lastly, number 6, internalization of schemes, invention of new means through mental combination with the age of 18 to 24 months. This is when infants develop the ability to use primitive symbol and form enduring mental presentation. This stage is associated primarily with the beginnings of insight or true creativity. Example, 19 months old bangs his new push toy against a wall, pauses for a moment as if thinking, then immediately turns the toy in a. By the end of the sensory period, objects are both separate from self and permanent. Object permanence is the understanding that objects continue to exist even while they cannot be seen, heard, or touched. An analysis of the 6 substages of the sensorimotor stage of Piaget's cognitive development shows that development begins from reflexive behaviors to more refined and more coordinated activities. Piaget's substages are termed circular because the adapted behavior to the world involves repeated actions. Circular reactions serve as the building blocks for intelligence. These are attempts to repeat to an event that baby likes. Primary circular reactions are oriented toward the infant's own body. This substage involves coordinating sensation and new schemas. For example, a child may touch his/her thumb by accident and then later intentionally repeat the action. So why are these repeated? Because the infants find them pleasurable and they make them happy. Secondary circular reactions are repeated actions that involve recreating events which 4 to 10 months old babies observe outside on their own bodies. So these are aimed towards the environment including others. For example, they might throw a drop a toy, shake or rattle, or bang objects together to make delightful sounds. So according to Piaget, acquiring the sense of object permanence is one of the infant's most important accomplishments according to them. Object permanence is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when the objects are not immediately perceptible through the senses. Before the infant acquisition of the sense of object permanence, the principle that applies is out of sight, out of mind. So let us proceed to learning and remembering. Do infants learn and remember? Yes, Pavlov's classical conditioning and Skinner's operant conditioning have been proven to apply to infants. All of us experience infantile amnesia, the inability to recall events that happened when we were very young. Generally, we can remember little or nothing that has happened to us before the age of about 5 years, and it's extremely rare for someone to recall many memories before age 3 years. Reports of childhood memories usually involve memories of significant events. For example, some adults have recalled their own hospitalization or the birth of a siblings as far back as age 2 years, and the death of a parent or family move may be recalled from as far back as age 3 years. For example, when we were young, we usually sleep at the sofa because we are tired from playing all day. Then we sleep there the next morning. We're surprised because we're on the bed, so we are asking our parents kung sinong nagbuhat sa atin, and it's kind of learning and remembering ability. So we have 5 stages in producing language by Sternberg 2003. Number 1 is cawing, which comprises largely vowel sounds. So ito yung mga vowel sounds. Cawing is a baby ways of finding their voice. So there is an example of cawing like a, I, U. So that is an example of cawing. Number 2, bubbling, which comprises consonant as well as vowel sounds. To most people, is the bubbling of infants growing up among speakers from different language groups sounds very similar. Bubbling is the stage of language development during which children produce speech sounds arranged in nonsensical combinations. So, in this stage, bubbling is ito yung nagko-compose yung mga infants ng mga nonsensical combinations words, yung mga repeated words. For example, baba, mama. So, ito yung mga example ng bubbling, which is walang ka-sense or walang meaning. And number 3, one-word utterances. These utterances are limited in both the vowels and the consonants. They utilize Ingram 1999 cited by Sternberg 2003. So, number 3 is is a one word utterances is taking the place of a phrase. So let me give you an example. So example is yung tatay ng bata is galing sa trabaho. So umuwi na siya sa bahay nila at nakita siya ng anak niya at sinabi yung baby na dada. So it means I see daddy or dumating ang kanyang daddy. So ang tawag noon ay one word utterances. Number 4, two words utterances and telegraphic speech. So itong dalawa pareho lang ito. So ito yung opposite ng one word utterances. So an example of this is yung baby sinabi niyo mommy sit and daddy go. Kumbaga ito yung words na composed noun or pronoun. Yung walang prepositions. So, number 5, basic adult sentence structure present by about age of 4 years with continuing vocabulary acquisition. So number 5, sa basic adult sentence structures. So number 5, ito yung mga 4 years mga children. So baga marunong na sila sa mga basic adults sentence. For example is mga magandang araw, I love you, or good morning. So, other basic adult sentences. The infant's utterances, his her first word, followed by one or two more, and soon after yet a few more. So, hollow phrases such as okay that expresses a complete meaningful thought. By the time the child is 12 months old, he or she begins to say single word. Another example, the child may say mine, it means this. What toddlers and infants can do cognitively. What toddlers and infants can do in the domain of language, pre-reading and pre-math, cognitive development. So let's start with language development. Language focuses on the development of oral language and vocabulary. So there are two parts of language, which is receptive language and expressive language. First, receptive language. By Ingram 1999, the literature indicates that infants' speech perception abilities are strong. Not only do infants understand more vocabulary that they are able to produce, but they also demonstrate awareness of the properties of the language or languages they are exposed to before they acquire word. Second, expressive language. The child is able to use words and gestures to express his her thought and feelings. Pre-reading and pre-math. So there are two parts of pre-reading and pre-math. Number 1 is matching. Number 2 is root sequencing. So number 1, matching. The child is able to match identical objects, colors, shapes, and symbols. Number 2, root sequencing. The child is able to recite the alphabet and numbers in sequence.